very, very privileged to be joined by somebody, Ms. Natasha Hausdorff, who's been one of those voices who emerged immediately after October 7th at a time when so many of us, and I look at myself personally, were looking for a language, an international legal language to be able to put forward the case for Israel. And Natasha, you have been the most unbelievable spokesperson for Israel in the realm of international law. So articulate, so on point at a time that we have all so desperately needed a mouthpiece and needed somebody we could follow to enlighten all of us. And firstly, I really, on a personal level, and I reached out to you straight away when I heard your first words. It helped me as a rabbi to formulate the many things that I was trying to say, to give depth of reality of what's going on to the ideas that I was sharing. And you have unstintingly, for over 620 days, been a voice that we continue to turn to. Thank you so much for joining us from England. And to ask you, Natasha, if you could share with us, it's forever hurled at us, the legitimacy of preemptive strikes, the legitimacy of Israel's preemptive strike, the legitimacy of America's preemptive strike, which many of them are being questioned because Israel was not attacked in a way yet which threatens it existentially, certainly not the United States of America. And perhaps you can help us at a time where there's often confusion where there really shouldn't be, to formulate, based on international law, your perception of these attacks and also where we're standing right now at this challenging yet incredibly privileged time. Natasha, thank you so much for joining us.
Rabbi, thank you ever so much. It is a significant privilege and an honor. I hope that you can hear me, because I'm getting quite a bit of feedback. But if you give me a nod, then that will be fine.
I can hear you.
Oh, wonderful. I have to say I'm tremendously grateful for your friendship after you reached out, and for the strength and determination and courage that you have shown, and the leadership that you have been able to display. This is such an incredible opportunity for people to come together in what is a time when history is being made. I'm particularly grateful for the opportunity to address some of the legal representations, because since America struck those 3 critical nuclear sites, there's been increasing discussion about the legality of those strikes following the discussion of the legality of Israel's strikes. Right, that so much of that has focused on this notion of preemption. Now, these strikes have been described as preemptive against Iran's nuclear program, and that is because it is a very easy concept to understand, and certainly politically, in the context of the international discourse, it's important to recognize that this is a series of strikes to take out Iran's nuclear capability before it is able to make good on its existential threats against the state of Israel. But in terms of the legal analysis of this war between Israel and Iran, I'm afraid that it misses the mark. This is a war that has been going on for decades. A war that Iran has waged against Israel with its stated intention of annihilation, mostly through terror proxies. Iranian terror proxies include Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. And it has also targeted Israeli interests, assets around the world, and of course Jewish communities. That has all been the work of decades. That means that the war between Israel and Iran has to be analysed in that context. And so the notion of a preemptive strike is not relevant to the legal analysis of what Israel has done over the last week. It is, in fact, a continuation of that armed conflict, and Israel has been, in accordance with the laws of war that apply within an armed conflict, complying with the principles of necessity, distinction, proportionality, and precaution. Israel has been targeting military installations. It has also been providing warnings and seeking to assist civilians from these areas to flee. And that is important because the nature of the steps that Israel takes in so many ways, in fact, goes above the requirements of international law, and does more than certainly any other army in the history of warfare has done. I know you will also be hearing from Colonel Richard Kemp, and he has historically been one of the significant advocates for the reality and recognition of the reality of the way that Israel approaches armed conflict and its compliance with international humanitarian law is part and parcel of that. So that analysis of the legality of Israel's strikes against Iran and what has now followed in terms of America's involvement, that has to be seen also under the ongoing armed conflict that Israel has vis-a-vis Iran and the defensive measures that it is taking. And the role that America has played here in relation to defending Israel is part of what is called the third-party defense doctrine. It is inextricably linked with Israel's own inherent right to self-defense, something that is recognized under Article 51 of the UN Charter. And the significance of that action cannot be overstated. Certainly in a legal framework, it is entirely lawful, and that makes sense because international law is all about promoting stability, certainty, preventing fratricidal struggles, and ensuring that peace can be maintained, avoiding wars, if you will, which, frankly, this action has done. We are looking, I believe, today at a much safer future because of the incredible action that America and Israel have taken, because of the way that Israel laid the groundwork for the American action overnight. And it is a much safer future, not just for the region, not just a potentially much safer future for the people of Iran, who now are faced with circumstances in which they may be finally able to liberate themselves from this oppressive tyranny of the mullahs that has subjugated them for over 40 years. No, I believe it is also a much safer future for the rest of the world. And it is so important that we recognize that the incredible, almost miraculous action that Israel has been able to take for the last 20 months against Iran's terror proxies and now against Iran itself, its successes over the 7 fronts of this war have been utterly remarkable and have been in defense of the West, because Iran has made it perfectly clear when it calls to death to America, when it calls for death to Israel, it has made it perfectly clear that its fight is against the West as a whole. Its fight is against the Western way of life, and Israel is ultimately on the front lines of the defense of the West. This was recognized, in fact, by the German Chancellor, and I think increasingly it is going to be recognized by other international leaders. That is something we should all take immense pride from. It is something that reflects incredibly well on Israel, the Jewish state, on it being a light unto the nations. And despite its remarkably small size, despite its relative youth, the fact that Israel is leading the fight against tyranny, oppression, and the main enemies of Western civilization as a whole is history in the making, certainly, but something that I think fulfills the most important aspirations of the Jewish tradition, and something, as I say, we should all take immense pride in.
Natasha, really, I just want to thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes. I'm so sorry there was so much feedback, so I hope that you were able to
I just want to thank you and to bless you that you should continue to be blessed to play the role that you are playing of such clarity, such time, giving us all a voice in an arena that many of us don't know much about, international law, but is forever thrown at Israel as one of those ongoing condemnations, to be able to keep turning to you to make sense of it as you have done, and then also to remind us of the enormity of the times that we're living in, as the role that Israel is playing in terms of moving Jewish and human history forward for the sake of the free world. We deeply appreciate it. God bless you and keep up your amazing work. Thank you very much.